Hey guys, there's a little disclaimer in this video. This video will be pretty dark as it shows a side of Vader most would assume he has, however, we haven't really seen it until this comic. It involves some pretty bad things that he does through the images, so if you're not a fan of that, by all means turn away now and I'll see you guys tomorrow. For those that do want to see just how evil and cold Vader was, we'll enter the 5th and final issue of the comic series, Darth Vader and the Cry of Shadows. The entire comic is narrated through the eyes of a clone trooper named Hawk from the Clone Wars who now fights for the Empire with regular non-clone humans. As the story progresses, which I won't get into as it derails from today's, Hawk comes to join Vader atop a cliff overlooking a rebellious city of separatists who are comprised of villagers who stand united to fight for freedom and democracy. As Vader nears them, he without hesitation draws his weapon and slices down the men and women. As they continue to raid the village, Hawk tells us just how the city had been bombarded by the Imperial Navy, and it was now in flames, near total destruction. As he looks into his own reflection from a cracked mirror, he tells us just how the city was barely recognizable. Poetically, of course, the writer means himself having changed, and the galaxy as a whole from the days of the Jedi. Now from here is where our story begins. This is where the turn happens. Up until now, Hawk was obsessed with Vader. The whole comic followed his journey, which I'll explain in tomorrow's video, about how much he hated the Jedi for what they did to him in the Clone Wars, and found commonality and brotherhood in Vader, whom he knew hated them just as much, if not more. The issue runs through his constant missions to be noticed by Vader until he finally does at the end of the 4th issue. As he fights alongside the Dark Lord, he tells us from his point of view just how quickly his views on him changed. This is a point of view we never get to see from any general or officer or Star Wars novel, as it's something that only this clone trooper saw and was only shown in the last pages of this 5-issue comic. Now, I saw some previous comments asking me to narrate these kind of videos entirely and explain parts at the end so as to not draw away from the story. So for this video, I'll do just that. The story takes place just as Hawk and Vader begin to slash and blast through a small city of villagers, defending their freedom. I'll also be narrating it in my own voice since my clone trooper Maori New Zealand fake accent is laughable at times and would take attention away from the story being told. Let's begin. Is there an ounce of humanity left in that dark machine? I still ask myself that. I honestly don't know. I hope not, because over the course of that next hour, I saw things. Images that still visit me in the dark. I heard things. Cries that still wake me from a deep sleep. I pray no human being is capable of what Lord Vader did that day. I wish I could say the elected leaders of that city offered profound words at their death. I wish I could fill this page with their final thoughts, or pass along some sort of final wisdom. But like so much of the bloodshed I had seen in my life, it was a scene of little consequence. Sounds followed by silence. Action followed by stillness. Followed by numbness. I can tell you that they never drew their weapons, even when they had a chance to kill me earlier that day. It was over, I thought. I hoped. But I wasn't going to leave anything to chance. Your leaders are dead. Take a knee and bow to your new lord. Once again, my initiative surprised Lord Vader. But what happened next surprised us both.
Then follow your leaders into oblivion.
I'm not sure what I said next. Those dark eyes. No hint of emotion, no glimmer of humanity. That's what will haunt my memory until my final breath. I know I said something. I certainly know how I felt, seeing those people literally stand up for their beliefs. And what was that? To live on their own, in peace? The full realization crashed down on me. My respect had been misplaced. Could I have said more? Should I have said something different? Had I been more eloquent or more persuasive or slightly less rattled by those cold eyes? Could I have saved those lives? In that moment, could a new course have been set? Perhaps for the entire galaxy. This, too, will haunt me forever. Then again, maybe Vader's pause was something else. Maybe he was just deciding whom to kill next. There are many things I'll never know. My genetic code, for example. Was the exact day and hour of my death predetermined years ago in a Kaminoan lab? Will I just drop dead, no longer useful for my created purpose, pre-programmed to be expendable in my advanced years, away from the battlefield? Or will I just speed through old age as quickly as I sped through my youth? So I write, to confess my sins, to memorialize those scrubbed from history by imperial decree, to express my conviction that the Empire won't succeed, can't succeed, and to pass along that hope to a child who may never know his or her father. I feel like this particular comic issue strays away from the regular Vader style of just being the typical commanding and powerful Vader that we know, but rather really shows just how cold, murderous, and evil he was. He really didn't care for anything, even killing children again after the raid on the temple, and a city full of bombed villagers, not to mention killing handicapped war veterans. The rest of the comic shows Hawk with his new life, having left the Empire and settled down with a wife in the countryside, writing his memoirs of battle throughout the Clone Wars and into the reign of the Galactic Empire, only to burn them all in his fire at the end of the story. I always felt like Vader was just a touch above this level of brutality. I mean, those men and women in the hospital couldn't even defend themselves. We saw that guy stand up with no limbs, yet he sliced through them anyways. If you do think about it, he's physically worse off than they are, without the suit, of course. I know this comic was pretty dark and depressing, but it's my job to bring to light everything to do with Star Wars, and of course, everything to do with Vader and his backstory. So I hope you enjoyed it nevertheless. If you did, be sure to hit like and support further videos like this, and I hope you all have a great day. See you in tomorrow's episode of Star Wars Theory. I gotta go watch some cartoons or something now because this was just too depressing of a video. Until then, my fellow Jedi and Sith friends, remember,
The Force will be with you always.